Hey there, this is Emily and Bernie from Third Place Works, where we help co-working professionals with tailored cohorts and one-on-one consulting. Our proven frameworks can help you get focused, stay accountable, and see real results. Want to learn more? Check out the show notes for all the details on how to join us and take your co-working business to the next level.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Co-working Values podcast. Wish I had a jingle here. So in the studio today is my good friend Caroline. Caroline, what are you known for and what would you like to be known for?
Hello, I am Caroline. I am one of the founders of the Breaker Collective, which is a place for women to be able to come together and be.
And what would you like to be known for, Caroline? You need to finish the rest of the that question's like my tagline. You can't mess it up.
Sorry, my tagline. So what would I like to be known for? I'd like to be known for someone that helps support other women and help them be the best versions of themselves.
You are. So the first time we met in person was at the Workspace Design Show, which is coming up shortly after we'll publish this podcast.
Nice.
And what did you come and ask me outside the room?
Oh, this story, it's a little twisted, but I'll give it to you. I said something along the lines of, "What do you think about a co-working space for women? Do you think this is something that would work? Do you think I could have a co-working space for women?"
In my version, which is definitely played around in my version, you said, would it be okay to do this? And standing by us was like Fiona Ross and Shazia Mustafa and probably Lucy and Janine.
Uh-huh.
And I tell me if this is how I imagine it, and don't stamp on my story. And I said, I got you to ask them, and they all went. I think they all swore, which we're going to try not to do, but they were like, "Yeah, do it."
That's close enough. I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
I think at the time, what I was really worried about is that there are a lot of people that their first response is, "Well, what about the men? Why can't they be a part of it?" Or actually, you're being anti-feminist, which I don't even know how I feel about that word, but people would say you're being anti-women by not bringing the men along. Look, we love men. I'm married to a great man who is my number one supporter of what we're trying to do. I think, Bernie, you're probably number two of the men that are one of our best supporters. Men can come in as associates of women. But I think it's okay to have a space that's for us, where you feel safe, where you feel like you can let it all out, or a place where you can up your game. And I had been, when we first met, quite apologetic about wanting to have a space for women, whereas now I'm not. So thank you for helping to push that along.
I'm delighted, but I'd love to take full, especially if I play this back to my wife and my mother-in-law. Take full responsibility for that. But it is all the people. This is the big thing where we, John Alexander has given us the language for this of like you have to find the others, because there's why I pulled you into that group, because one, it's a great stunt and it's really funny, but there's so many other people, both male and female, walking around asking for permission for things they want to do. And that's why bringing people together in the way we do it, it's not the only place that does it, in that London co-working assembly thing, is pushing people together to say, look, everyone else is thinking about this too. You're not alone.
Yeah. Yes, you're not alone. That's something that's very important for us to get across. And I feel like women, especially in in all stages of life, I have felt up to now the feeling of being very alone. Before, when I first started out in my career, when all my friends started dating and I wasn't yet dating, I was sort of late to the game. When I had children, I felt really alone. Now that I'm trying to get back into the workforce, it can also feel really isolating. I'm speaking to a lot of my wise women friends that I call queenagers, which is an Eleanor Mills tag for women that are through menopause and who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, but still have a lot to give to the world, but they feel like they're sort of ignored or pushed aside because they're older and they don't feel like there's this perception that they don't have a use anymore. And those women feel isolated and alone as well. So I want to say, I want to swear now, but I'm not going to.
You can swear.
I want to say, fuck that. Let's
Yeah.
not be alone, and let's not feel alone. We don't need to. We can be a community, and we can uh, support each other, and we'll be better for it. I mean, we're C.S. Lewis. It's back to sort of my Christian roots, but a good, still Oxford British guy. One of the best things I ever read that he wrote was, "We are human beings, not human doings," and that we need to, as beings, be in community and bouncing ideas off of each other. And that's sort of at the core of what we believe.
Was that in the screw tape letters?
Uh, it was either in that one, or it could have been in, I had at one point like a 365 days with C.S. Lewis. It was but it might have been Screw Tape Letters, yeah.
He's amazing. Quick before I start showing off about knowing one C.S. Lewis book other than The Lion and Witch in the Wardrobe. Can you say a little bit about the motherhood tax, and then I've got somewhere else to go, because that's the thing I say to people about you most, you and Gemma the most, is I actually say they cure the motherhood tax, which is a bit of a claim.
That's a big claim. I would love to be able to say that we cure the motherhood tax, but I think it would be unfair to probably the thousands of women before us that have been fighting for this, and the ones that are actively now fighting against the motherhood tax. But yeah, it's something that is something we want to come up against. The motherhood tax is women who either decide to have children, they are sort of taken out of the workforce, either by choice or by force sometimes, which you don't think would still happen in 2025, but it does. The statistic, I think, is that 54,000 women a year in the UK leave the workforce either because they are not able to take flexible work to work around their children, or they feel like they are pushed into a role that wasn't one that they were doing before or want to do again because they're seen as being either less capable or not having the time or focus to do their roles. This pairs very much with the fact that women are still paid, I don't know, is it 70p to the pound these days, or maybe 80p to the pound? It's 70 or 80p to the pound. It's less. And while that doesn't seem like a lot less when it's only 30p difference, if you add that to several zeros, it's a big difference in what men and women make. And ironically, well, where women get taxed by having children, men often get bonuses or get more money, promotions. They're seen fathers. It's 6%. I looked it up this morning, actually, a UK statistic that says that men get a 6% increase after they have children because they're seen as being more stable and more focused and more drilled to want to provide for their family. So while women are often not able to go back to work, or if they do, can take up to 6 years to even make what they were making prior to having children, let alone what their counterparts would be at if they hadn't taken time out for children. So I'm rambling a bit, but obviously it's something I'm passionate about.
I'm like quite speechless. Do you know who Emily Chang is?
No, I don't.
The Brotopia book. I'll put a link in the show notes, folks. And one of the points she makes in this, it's about what's it, Breaking Up the Boys Club of Silicon Valley or something is the name of the book, Brotopia. And in it, she says, if we can cure, like, instant payments across the internet and getting to Mars, and everything that all the huge big tech problems that are solved by the bros, but they can't solve equal pay and all the other diversity and inclusion issues. That seems a really hard thing. It's a big problem to tackle. It's very complicated, but sending satellites to space with hundreds of people working on them is worth. I think that's the thing that's a bit sad, is it's worth the investment to do that.
Yeah. And actually, when you think about it, that's really good. I'm definitely going to add it to my list of books to read this year. I'm thinking about Trump saying, I'm American. Obviously, you can tell by my accent, and we have just elected, we as a country, I say, not me personally, but in our democratic fashion, the country has chosen Donald Trump as our president again. And one of the things he talked about in his inauguration speech was that they were going to plant an American flag on Mars. And yeah, you're right. That's a hell of a lot more complicated than just paying an equal amount to women as men. I mean, how that is not complicated. It's pay them the extra 30 cents, the extra 30 pence. Like, what's the big deal? That's not gonna, is that gonna shatter men fragility? I mean, I just don't get it. Like, you're right. It's gonna take a lot more brain power, money, time to try and figure out how to get a human on
And
Mars.
risk.
Yeah, and risk versus just reaching into the coffers and giving women an equal amount of money to men. Like, that's like a no-brainer. Yet you're absolutely right. It doesn't seem worth the investment to society, which is a real shame, which is why if we at Breaker can even help push the needle a fraction, then we're going to do it, because there are lots of other men and women that are fighting for this. I mean, powerhouses, in the UK, I'm here more than I'm in the States now, so my influencers are often British. You've got the Pregnant and Screwed founder who's working towards this, and you've got Anna Whitehouse, who has a huge audience, who talks a ton about the motherhood tax, and she's just had a baby actually, so she's speaking
Living
about
the
it
dream.
firsthand, which she did before. She has other children as well, but it's particularly apropos when she stands in front of Parliament with her newborn baby and talks about this.
Does she
So
take the newborn baby with her?
she did.
Oh, brilliant! There's do you know Tash Thomas, who's in our little co-working
Yes,
gang?
yes, I do.
She
Yeah,
goes everywhere with her baby. She
she,
teaches. She runs D&I workshops, and so it's probably easier for her to walking with a baby and prove a point.
yeah, that's true.
Um, but I know it's really. I used to love. I miss. And we both have kids with the same name, but I used to miss taking our baby Bernie, as he was known then, his internet name, to like around with work.
Yeah,
That was really good fun. I want to jump to this thing because I know you have interviewed a lot of women in Winchester in your area, and I'm going to feed you the question here. Like, what are the three things that keep on coming up? Because like that's really interesting.
yeah. So the three we have officially interviewed 125 women, but we've actually spoken to probably hundreds more in the last 2 years that we've been trying to grow this initiative that we're doing. And I keep saying we because I do have a co-founder who you mentioned. Her name is Gemma. She's the other
Amazing.
half of Breaker.
Can you say a little bit? Can we like deviate because she's not just like the social media marketer. She's like a powerhouse.
She is a
She
powerhouse.
could even be the brains of the operation, Caroline.
I mean, she could. I wouldn't like to give her that much credit. If she were here, I'd heckle her and say we'd probably say neither of us are the brains and that somehow we just keep stumbling forward. But there is strength. I was just talking about the community. There's strength in numbers, and we're definitely stronger together. I am stronger for having her as my co-founder. So she very quickly is Gemma. She runs nurseries. At the minute, she has one setting, but she's had many over the last 12 or so years. I don't know if it's 12 or 15. This is where my ADHD kicks in, and I'm not good at these details. And she's not here to defend herself, but it's somewhere between 12 and 15 years. And actually, she was working in HR and was quickly rising through the ranks. I don't know. She was on for being in her 20s in London, she was on a lot of money in HR at the time. And she had some children and found it really difficult to do the commute into work and also be the main caregiver for her children. I mean, her husband was around and he was involved, and he is not was is a a good dad and was, very around in those early days. But she was the main carer, and she found it too hard. So she gave up her career and thought the crippling cost of childcare and also the amount of time that I currently spend with my children are enough to start my own nurseries. So that's what she did. And she is really passionate about it, much more so than me. I love my children most of the time. Um, but I couldn't be with other people's children all day long. And she is just like, I don't know, a magician, a wizard, a wizardess when it comes to getting children excited about learning and being away from their parents when they're young. And she's just really awesome at it. So we couldn't do Breaker without her. Uh, yeah.
She's amazing. So did you just for context, did you both go around and interview everybody, or was it what was the setup?
We had a survey, so we did split it for the official survey. But because we talk about Breaker all the time, we speak to women all of the time, and we see lots of women at the gate at school and things like that. But for the official one, we split it. And we both came back with these three main words that were consistent: loneliness, guilt, and confidence, or lack of confidence. Um, of women consistently saying they feel isolated, they feel lonely. They're lonely if they are women that are our age that chose not to have children because they feel like they're not in the group of women that did have children. And one woman that I spoke to, I'll never forget, she was talking about how she felt quite isolated because she didn't have the chat at the mom gate that I just referenced to. And whereas when you're in uni or you're in school, it's easy to make friends, that she'd see that women of her age, the way that they made friends was through other moms at the school. And because she was working, she didn't have that. And so she felt really isolated because she felt like she didn't have a crew. Ironically, I was on the other side. This idea of the grass is always greener. I was on the other side at the mom gate, feeling isolated, feeling like I really wanted to be at work. I'm quite type A. I thought that I would be, I don't know, running a company by now. I really had big plans for where I thought my life would be at this point, career wise. My husband was quite ready to be a kept man because I was the one that was much more career driven than him. And yet I was at the mom gate talking about, I don't know, what my kid ate last night or how many times my infant had pooed, or when the last time was I was able to wash my hair, or if I was wearing a bra that day, trying to wrangle my kids out the door to get them at school on time. And I felt isolated. And there was a UK report through NCT that came out that said that 50% of new mothers in the UK report experiencing feelings of loneliness during the first year after child support. There's just, even with something like NCT, which as an American, I was really excited about because we don't have that in the States. Even with NCT, women feel isolated, that they don't have the right social support, that there's so many societal pressures put on them.
This
Um,
is one of the things you don't know it's true till it happens to you, because like you're saying all of that, and we had people around, and we went when our son was born, and I remember so the way we did it is 3 days a week he'd go to nursery. Thursday I'd have him, and Friday Lorena would have him. So which was just be able to have that set up is quite luxurious.
uh-huh.
And on Thursday I wake up, and it's like the only thing you'd see all day was like your child and some nappies,
Yep.
and trying to, I some days I'd be, and I'm like, like going out and seeing people and have people to see, but I'd be like, what can I do with him today? Like, oh, I'm just going to stay at home. I'm knackered. And then you'd be at home and have a nice day, but you haven't seen anybody. And
Yeah.
and then all the other stuff we could say about this, but it's this quite amazing how lonely it could be, even though you're at the time we lived in London. There's 8 million people around,
Yeah.
and you're still lonely.
Yeah. And the irony is that we were hearing from women who don't have children that they were equally lonely because they felt like there's this societal pressure to have children. And if you're of baby making years and you haven't had kids, they'd sometimes feel like, oh, well, what's, I've made the choice to not have children, or I can't have children. I mean, it's so complex, the whole fertility thing. But we'd speak to a number of women who feel isolated because they didn't have kids and they weren't part of this sleep deprived, dry shampoo, saggy boob club.
I never had the dry shampoo thing.
Oh, you did that?
I'm gonna shout out. We're gonna put a link in the show notes to Lisa's podcast, which is about being childless and all the annoying questions you get asked. Oh, so like, why haven't you got children? Well, why is that the second thing you ask me? So what else did people ask? So what are the other two words?
The other two, guilt and confidence. So there was a survey done in 2023 with Mind UK that said that 70% of women feel guilty about taking time for themselves, perceiving it as selfish or neglectful of others' needs. So that's not just a mother quote, that's just women. Women often take the brunt of being the carer, whether it's for their children or for their parents or for siblings or in-laws. And women feel guilty all of the time. I feel guilty all of the time. I feel guilty when I forget to put my kids' lunch order in, which I've done consistently for the last 2 weeks. And today I actually said to my husband when I forgot, I said, I cannot face it. I feel guilty. I'm embarrassed. Please, can you be the one that calls into the school and says that they want red lunch today or whatever it is? I feel guilty that I don't see my family enough because we've moved across the ocean. I feel guilty if I take the time to go and get my hair done. Gemma always teases me. She's like, I swear, if I hear you say the example of your gray roots again, I'm going to gouge my ears out and my eyes, because I say it all the time, but it's true. Like, I perpetually have gray hair roots because I feel guilty about taking the time to go and do something for myself. And the whole time I'm there, I'm thinking about all the stuff that I should be doing otherwise. And I feel like I've got to justify to my partner, even though there's no pressure there, justify taking time to do anything for myself.
So why? I don't want to ask why is that, but like that's the quickest question. So here, Lorena will say, "I'm really sorry, I didn't put the washing in," and I'm like, well, like I can do that. Like it's not, just examples like that. I mean, if I like, me and your husband aren't the type of people that like sit on the sofa smoking cigarettes and drinking beer all day. We're like involved. So
There.
like it wouldn't be a surprise, if she just walked past and said, "Look, I'm really busy. Can you do the washing?" I definitely wouldn't retaliate and say, "Look, I'm so busy. I've got to get through season 7 of Breaking Bad." But like,
Or retaliate and say, well,
can you see what an immature question I'm asking and come up with a sort of appropriate answer for a dumb question?
yes, the only thing I can say is that it is drilled into us from being small. I mean, all of popular media, things are starting to change. I see a glimmer of hope in this next generation. But for all of our lives, we see examples of women being the caretakers, of women doing the pink jobs, of doing the household things, of being the
that
homemakers.
word. We have
Yeah,
a friend that says that, and
pink and blue jobs.
yeah, and it's a nice family. And the dad said that once, and Lorena kind of like cartwheeled across the table, grabbed 2 knives, and anyway, she didn't really, but it
Sounds
was.
like my kind of woman.
Whew.
Yeah.
I interrupted you there. Sorry.
No, that's all right. But I mean, it still is, you look back sometimes when I go on my Insta scrolls of doom and watch all these random videos, because I talk a lot and post a lot, and Siri hears me and the powers that be hear me talk about, women, empowerment of women. A lot of my feed comes up with that sort of thing. And you'll see that it was only in the 1950s and 60s where it was like, how to be the best wife you can be. And it'd be like Good Housekeeping or whatever the equivalent is of here, talking about Make sure that you do yourself up before your husband comes home. Make sure that you've hoovered the house quickly and that you've dusted and that he has a hot meal on the table. And yeah, now I don't think anybody would expect that that would be the case. And honestly, if anybody did, I'd punch them right in the face. Women, men, woman, whatever, them, any pronoun, I'd punch them in the face if they said that to me. And so we don't overtly, I don't think that anymore, but it's still, it hasn't been that long that people did overtly think that. And it's still in our psyche. And I think
It
that
is.
um, it's still part of how we're raised. And you know, my mother wasn't that way. My grandmother was an incredible homemaker and she was in that era, but even her, she still worked. Um, and she had the most consistent job actually of her and my grandfather, who was part of an era where people got laid off a lot and he was a really hard working blue collar worker, but she was the one with a consistent job and was expected to then come home and cook and make the clothes and do all of that stuff. But you know, I come from a long line on both sides of really strong women. And yet that's still how I feel sometimes in my subconscious because it's just indoctrinated through the culture. So anything again that we can do to help change that is a good thing.
I was in about 100 years ago when I was at university. I there was a module called Women in Literature, and I went to do it. And then there were two bits in there, and one was about the literature of food. And my professor had written a whole book called Culinary Pleasures, which was a study of cooking books from like the late 1800s to, and at that point in time, Jamie Oliver was just kicking off.
Hmm.
Um, and I was the only guy in the class, which was interesting. And one of the books was about by Elizabeth Luard, who I now follow on Substack, who wrote about moving her family from England to Battersea to Andalusia. But it was amazing how the wording, even from women, was in those books describing like the catering domestic setting. And we like every class we were astounded at how something could be written that was so when your husband gets home from work, make sure his slippers are ready.
Yeah.
Oh my god, did people used to publish that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It was mainstream. And again, this isn't like, I'm not, you know, women, if you want to be a homemaker, be a homemaker. If you want to be uh, a stay at home mom, be a stay at home mom. Like, this is not about feeling like women can't do one thing versus the other. It's just this, when it's something that becomes oppressive or feels suffocating. So for me, I actually quite like, in many ways, doing what would be, you know, stereotypically pink jobs. Like, I hate it when my husband does the laundry because it's always wrinkled, and because I'm a little bit OCD, it's actually fine. But you know, I enjoy doing it. But these days, I am so busy, I'm struggling. So he is the one that's picking up those pieces. Like, also, I do most of the cooking, not because my husband can't cook, but because it's my love language and it's something that's important to me. So I'm not saying that we all need to, you know, swing one way or the other, but just to give women the choice of not feeling suffocated and feel like they're drowning trying to have to seemingly do it all, or seemingly feel like they have to, if they don't do those stereotypically pink jobs, that there's something wrong with them, because there's not.
can you remember that phrase from COVID where it was men started working from home and men took their work home and women took their work and their work at home or something like that?
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I'm talking about? I wish I could
Yes.
remember it.
I don't know what the phrase is, but I know that the statistic from those COVID days, I think it was something like 1 million women left the workforce during COVID because they were picking up the slack, um, for all of the other stuff that you have to do in your life. Uh, so it is incredible. Again, like, it just, I don't know how that ever changes, you know. Um, but
I was shocked at how that went down. and
Yeah.
I felt like, and I remember, and you must have seen them too. I remember like people saying it's like we've gone back to the 50s, and men, it was completely different. I didn't have a, I mean, I would have definitely been on this side, but the way it turned out is, um, my wife worked in a hospital. She's a clinical psychologist, so she went to work. She was one of those frontline NHS
Uh-huh.
people who didn't like people bashing pots and pans for them during
Yep.
COVID.
Yep.
So she went to work, and I stayed at home. And our son went to school, and I took him to school. But um, loads of other people, like even on co-working calls, where there's like a couple that run the co-working space, the guy would come to the call because the partner was looking after the kids. And all these little subtle things, and it's kind of like they're not doing anything wrong, but how is it, you know how is it like everything work is guy orientated and everything else is women orientated?
Yeah. Yeah. And that, coming back to the original point about guilt, I think that's why women, part of a huge part of the reason why women feel that guilt, because we have these societal pressures on us. I mean, another one, working families, another statistic in 2022 said that 75% of working mothers report feeling guilty about balancing work and family life. Um, that's the other sort of that I didn't talk about. So the trio of women, we've got the women who don't have children who feel isolated, the women that do have children and take time out that feel isolated. Then there's the women who do work and are often the breadwinners. They also, and are mothers, they also feel isolated because they're never at the school gate. And so their perspective is that, well, I don't know what's going on because I am the breadwinner and I'm not at the school gate. My partner is, or I have a nanny that is, or a grandparent that is. And I don't know these other mothers. And, I've got my work that I'm really focused on. And then when I am home, I want to focus on my children, and I don't have time for a life either. So it
And who
seems
does the school always call?
the mother,
Exactly.
always the mother first. Always, always the mother first. That should change.
We got one more thing to do, the confidence thing.
Yeah, the confidence. So women often struggle with imposter syndrome. A KPMG study recently in 2023 showed that 75%, that's a huge amount. That's three-quarters of a pizza, a good American analogy with pizza, of female executives in the UK experience imposter syndrome at some point in their careers, doubting their skills despite evidence of their success. I mean, how many times do I personally go into a room and feel like, even against other women, it's like, well, I've been out of the traditional workforce for now almost a decade. Even saying that, I feel like less about myself. Saying that even right now, saying that I've been out of the traditional workforce fully, even though I've done some consulting, I've been out of the workforce for almost 10 years because I've been the main caregiver for my children.
So
I
so
feel bad
when
about myself. I feel like I've got to justify it, even to you right now.
so when you were in the workforce, like how many different, see what I'm doing here, like how many different countries did you work in?
A lot. Uh, I worked in East Africa mainly, and I worked first between Rwanda, Burundi, and Kenya, and then I moved to South Sudan where I was for just under 4 years.
So it wasn't like when you were working in the workforce, you were kind of, I don't know, opening the door to the local department store.
No, I wasn't, although that could be a lovely job as well because you get to put a smile, hopefully, on people's faces. But yeah, I was working overseas, mostly doing humanitarian work, which is not super conducive to having babies at the same time. Um, Lots of women do it. I was working in South Sudan at the time when I met my partner and got pregnant, and we felt that we that was not the right place for us to have children, that there were more important things that should be focused on there. And so we moved back at the time to the States, where I basically was pregnant for a decade, it feels like, for my 3 children. But this idea with confidence, I lack I really took a huge hit of confidence. Ironically, even in my last role, when I was really confident before I uh, got pregnant with our eldest, I was doing a job that a man before me was doing, who was actually a good friend of mine because it's all quite, the humanitarian community is quite small and people sort of float between jobs because there's only certain kind of people with loose brains, I think, and not so many screws in their heads that want to do that sort of job for a long period of time. Um, and I found out that I was paid 75% less than he was. And we had identical CVs. We were the same age. We both had master's degrees. We both had been in South Sudan for the same period of time. We had the same amount of leadership experience. And um, when I called them up on it and spoke to my manager about it, I was told I was being greedy because I was still getting paid significantly more than I was in my prior job. And that was a woman who told me I was being greedy. And I'm like, you've got to be joking me. So even when I was in the workforce and feeling confident, I was facing the women tax of not getting paid the same as men. And then I had children and I really lacked confidence of feeling like I had to justify the fact that I took time out, even though I was doing lots of other stuff. Right now, I'm justifying it. Um, Another really interesting statistic in what going on this confidence thing of feeling women feeling like they're inadequate in their roles. 66% of women in STEM fields feel like they don't belong, which causes high dropouts in the industry. If you look in across the maths and sciences and engineering, it's still all mostly men. And this is something that is changing. I'd like to hope. My daughter says that she wants to be a scientist and she also wants to be a principal ballerina. So she wants to do both. So good for her. I want to try and make a world where she can.
I swear I know someone who does both, and I can't remember who it is.
Well, when you find them, hook me up so that my daughter Layla can meet her or him.
I actually had someone who came to the Right Club, and they came to Impact Brixton, and they were traveling around London, and they just joined this co-working group while they were doing it as a brother and sister from Louisiana,
Uh-huh.
and they were doing a video blog, and they were into filmmaking and stuff. This is not what I said it was, so but I've got to finish because I started. And we thought she was like, she's a really cool videographer, and really, and then we just said, "Oh, are you studying film?" And she goes, "Actually," and she was like halfway through her second master's in chemistry, and she's like, "I don't know whether I want to be a filmmaker or a doctor." And what would you go into? Oh, I go into like stem cell cancer research. That's what we're working on, how molecules like congregate around the body and like what helps them collaborate together to destroy things. And if we put this, and I, whoa, and she was seriously thinking about like being a doctor and having a blog, but like deadly seriously. Anyway, I interrupted
Wow.
you. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Um, just to say, confidence is something that we can all, I think, continue to grow in, and it's something that us at Breaker really want to do. And that's why, as we talk about the problem that these are the three things: isolation, guilt, and uh, confidence, as being three consistent terms that we've heard across the board with women. We want to help ease that by reducing your commute, by having childcare on site, by having work facilities and wellness facilities all under one roof. We want to help ease that juggle so that you feel less guilty about taking time for yourself, uh, by feeling less guilty because you're still near your children if they're of that age, preschool age, where you can be near them, and know that they're in a really quality facility that Gemma, my co-founder, will have masterminded. I mean, I wish I could send my kids to her stuff, and they're too old now. I still try, but she tells me they're too old. And my son's like, "Mom, I'm 10. I'm not going back to nursery." Um, but we want to have a place where women can come in and just be themselves and have no judgment and no criticism, and that where they can either sit and rest and take a nap, or they can have a work call, or they can have a work meeting, or they can get their hair done. We're going to put it all under one roof. And that's what our way of trying to combat the motherhood tax and trying to combat women being paid less than men. We want to give them all the tools possible to succeed in whatever that means for them, whether it's work or family or as a parent or as a queenager. We want to be there to embrace them and to help build them up.
So just before we finish, can you say, because there's, that building is what you're looking for at the moment. And I always tell people, people love this idea of like getting the building and then it will all happen by magic. Sorry, lost my thread there. But the way you and Gemma, can you just describe a little bit about the way you and Gemma have been running events in different cafes and in your house and building the community as you go, and then we'll hang up.
Yeah. So we are currently looking for a building to call home, a place where people can come, a place that has parking and lovely grounds for children as well as for us. And while we're looking for that building, which is quite difficult to find just where we are here in Winchester, across the country, I don't think it will be, but here it is. We have been having events at my house, much to the support of my husband, who loves having to take my children away so that we can have a nice, lovely place for women to come and have events. We've had women come in and talk about mental health. We have had a spa day where women came and had their nails done and got massages, and we're just able to sit and chill, and we had childcare. We've also done it at pubs, and we're actually looking at resurrecting some of those in the near future. And we put out a newsletter, which has gone very dark recently. We haven't done much on our socials, and we haven't done any newsletters recently, and we haven't done any events because I've been trying to work on the back end of finding us a venue and work on our finances so that we can get the right investors involved to partner with us. But yeah, you don't have to wait for a building. You can build the community absolutely beforehand. And we do have a growing wait list and a growing network of women that we send out emails to, and a growing socials as well, that are all can be support while you're looking for a physical location.
Beautiful. Let's so we're going to put links in the show notes to everything, Caroline. But where's the best place for people to connect with you online?
The best place to connect with us is probably through our Instagram at the minute, which is just at The Breaker Collective. So if you search that, you will find us and give us a follow, and we'll put all of our updates there, and you can follow along with us that way.
Ace, thank you very much for all your time today. And I've been dying to do this podcast for ages, so I'm really happy about what we're doing today. So, ladies and gentlemen at home, if you go to Substack, the best place to connect with this podcast is on Substack, because you can listen to it and you can get Apple and Spotify and all those other places there too. And also you get an email update every time we release an episode, which is twice a week on Tuesday and Thursday. And there's a link in the show notes to the forthcoming Workspace Design Show, which is in the Business Design Centre in Angel in London at the end of February. We'll all be, not all of us, obviously, because there's a lot of flying and commuting, but a lot of us will be getting together in person for 2 events on that day. Yes. And how much fun is that, Caroline?
It's so much fun, actually. I forget that there are other parts of the show going on because I just like hanging out with the Bernie crew. Together.
The burning crew. I don't know. Oh dear. I know. I nearly said that, but I couldn't make it follow through. And then there's the LinkedIn group, which is where you can ask questions, post updates. There's like 8,000 people in that group, and only really 900 people pay attention. But if you were in that 900, we're gathering data that will prove that your life expectancy could extend as a result of connecting with other co-working space owners and operators in that LinkedIn group, but we're unable to quantify that at this time. Anyway, so wherever you are in the world, be careful out there. It is a jungle. Say goodbye, Caroline.
Bye. Thank you.